everybody, welcome back to That Fiction Life. Today I want to do a very casual sit down where I take you through some of the books that I have recently read. I have read some incredible books. I've also read probably the worst books in the last probably 5 years or so. It's by one of my favourite authors, which is why I'm having a crisis. But I've also read one of my favourite books of all time now. The first book that I'm going to be talking about has just become one of my favourite contemporaries, and that's a rare thing because it's my least read genre, so that's saying something when I really enjoy contemporary, and that is Love Boat Taipei by Abigail Hing Wen. And you probably have heard me talk about this book in my Gossip Girl video where I recommended you books if you like the show. So this book follows a sort of summer program where our main character gets sent to because her parents want her to learn more about her Chinese culture. Supposedly this very strict program, however when she gets there she begins to realise that this is sort of the first time a lot of these people have been let loose and they are no longer under the watchful eye of their strict parents. A lot of things go down. Now I gave this book 4 stars. I enjoyed seeing Eva's journey in this book and it was incredibly insightful to hear from her perspective about how she feels about being an immigrant in the US. So I moved to London when I was 9 and everything that Eva was saying I completely understood. The way that she doesn't have any family in the country except for her parents and her sister. I just wasn't expecting to understand her journey as much as I did. As hilarious as reading about all these characters going crazy and breaking all the rules is, I really did enjoy the more serious aspect of the book. The ending was a little bit of a letdown in this one because it felt so convenient. It came across as a little bit rushed. The love triangle in this book is one of the best written ever, and I hate love triangles. Let's put that out there. They're never well written, except for The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare, because that is god tier. They're never convincing. For example, Twilight. Things like The Mortal Instruments. The other guy doesn't have a chance. Here, I had no idea which way it was going to go. I liked both of the love interests so much, and I thought they were developed quite well to the point that I wanted them both to win. The next book, Shannon Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I go through all of my in-depth spoilery thoughts in my reading vlog, which I'm going to link down below if you would like to hear my in-depth thoughts. So this book follows Alina, who joins her country's military elite after she discovers that she has magical abilities. And this takes her on a massive journey of trying to hone in on her powers. Overall, I gave this book 3 stars. I adore this world. However, I thought that the story wasn't as unique as I wanted it to be. I love Alina as a character, but the villain I didn't find as menacing and as dark as everyone made them out to be. The plot overall was a little bit all over the place, which really messed up the pacing. I feel like it was just really rushed at points. You know, they're switching locations so many times and so many convenient things happen, but I'm so glad I've read it and I can now call myself a Leigh Bardugo fan. I can't wait to finish all of the Grishaverse books before Shannon Bone comes out on Netflix. Who is excited because it's all I think about. Then I read Anna K by Jenny Lee, and I had such a fun time reading this book because it was so entertaining. It's a loose Anna Karenina retelling. It's set in New York and it follows the high society. We follow Anna K, who becomes infatuated with this character called Count Vronsky. I gave this book 3 stars. Well, it was very entertaining. The way that it was written was very hard. Be very engaged with it. It took me a long time to read it purely because it's written as a sort of transcript. It comes across as though you're reading someone's diary. There's not a ton of dialogue, which I found very strange because Jenny Lee was originally a scriptwriter, so I was expecting a ton of dialogue in this story, but I didn't get that. It felt like you were reading a description of events with some dialogue thrown in, and that really took me out of the story. I love how this book deals with the whole, when you're in a certain big important family, how your future is a little bit set out for you and you have to kind of keep an eye on your image. Now should we talk about that 1-star book, because I'm staring at it and it's looking at me. That book is Tithe by Holly Black. This is bind up 3. This hurts for me to say this because, as you know, Holly Black is one of my top 5 authors of all time. The Cruel Prince series completely shattered any expectations for YA books for the future, because that series broke so many genre tropes and it was like the most unique dark fantasy that I've ever read in my whole life. And so I thought that I would give Tithe a go, which is Holly's first Fae series, and it follows this girl who saves this character one night and she becomes entangled with the Fae world. I had so many expectations for this book because Holly does these very menacing main protagonists very well in the way that you still love to read from their point of view, but they're not the most morally pure characters. And this book just, I don't know what happened. Yes, I do realise that this is, you know, Holly's early work, and she herself did say that it's not her best writing, and even though this book has been republished, it was written in 2002 or something. I found the plot really strange. I couldn't envision the world. The way that the fairy tale aspect was weaved into the modern world just wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. The characters, I do not like these people. I couldn't care less what happened to them. It became better towards the end. I did enjoy reading sort of the last 2 chapters. It was a little bit cringy, let's be real. I felt like this book is what The Cruel Prince became. You know, Kai, the main character, is a little bit not the best, in the same way that Jude is a little bit morally ambiguous, but the way that Jude is written is so exciting and you want to root for her and you understand her upbringing, whereas Kai just comes across as petty as hell for no reason, and she has this attitude and it just doesn't come across well. Then I have 7 Endless Forests by April Genevieve Cholke. I had such a mesmerizing time reading this book. I do have a written review for it, which I'll link down below if you would like to hear more. But this book primarily follows Torvi and her sister. And Morgan gets kidnapped by these bloodthirsty wolf priest creatures one night, and it's up to Torvi to kind of rescue her. And along with some companions, they go on this journey to try and find Morgan. It's a little bit of a loose King Arthur retelling in which they're looking for this sword while simultaneously hunting down these wolf priests. It's definitely a fairy tale like kind of story. It's very lyrical. For a book that's a little bit short, I was expecting it to be much more faster paced than it was, but it's such an atmospheric story. There's so many explanations and descriptions of what they are eating and drinking and smoking. It really visualized the world and I felt like I was there with the characters. Now, I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. Now I'm going to be talking about the series that pretty much just changed my life because I wasn't expecting to love it this much. And that is Ali Carter's Embassy Row series. I read the first book called All Fall Down years ago when it first came out, because I tend to read Ali's books as soon as they release, and it just wasn't my favorite. I didn't love the characters as much as I had in her previous series. I did love the plot twist, but just the whole experience of reading it wasn't as engaging. Then this past weekend, I decided to carry on the series because I don't like unfinished business. So I thought it was the perfect time because Ali was doing a live book chat on it, and I sat down and read each book in one day. Now I have to reference these hideous covers. These are the worst covers that I've ever seen in my whole life. The US ones are beautiful. They represent the story. These just look like trash. The general story of this series is we follow the children of embassy workers. They all live on Embassy Row, which is a whole road made up of different countries' embassies. And of course, while the parents and the grandparents are all very busy doing ambassador work, the kids get up to no good. And Grace, the main character, has been told her whole life that she is crazy because she thinks that this scarred man murdered her mother. That is kind of the plot of the first half of the series, but it escalates to things that I never expected to. You start learning about the monarchy of the country, which is a fictional country where it's set. It became a murder mystery at one point. This book covers so many different things. It deals a lot with mental health, and Grace herself has PTSD, and it's never forgotten throughout the whole series. Grace's thoughts are very hectic, you know, she gets triggered by a lot of things, and you truly feel like you're there in the moment with her, and she has such an amazing support system. Her friends are all incredibly well written. I love the cast in this series. It's very dark. The things that are explored and the plot twists will break your soul. I have never been more shocked in my whole entire life reading book 2 particularly. I was basically having a breakdown the whole time. I mean, I read each book in one day. What does that tell you? I just sat there, I didn't care about the world, I just wanted to know what happens. And I adored Grace as a protagonist. When all the secrets start materializing and you start to learn what really happened to Grace's mother and everything else that goes along with it, I found this series just so unexpected, and it is the perfect lesson on do not judge a book by its cover. I don't understand this. I just truly don't. I gave the second book 5 stars and the third book 4 stars. So those are the books that I have been reading recently. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Do let me know what you have been reading recently and we can discuss.